Josh Baumgartner with the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome our viewers to our candidate interview series 2019. We are interviewing for mayor, city of Tampa. At the Chamber, we focus on policy, not necessarily politics. While we do not endorse candidates, we feel that it's important that we ask candidates important business questions and get those answers in front of the business community. We're very excited today to have Ed Turanchik running for mayor joining us. Thanks and welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I've been involved in the Chamber for a lot of years and appreciate all the good work that the Chamber of Commerce does. I'm glad you're providing this service to your members.
Absolutely, thank you. So we are just under 6 weeks away from Election Day. Now that we're in the final stretch, what's the message that you're trying to deliver to voters before they head to the polls?
It's very simple. If you want to go with Ed. We have a Tampa Go plan. That's a complete transportation plan that we can build in 5 years because I've been working on this for 30 years. No more studies, no more consultants, no more lobbyists, no more focus groups. We know how to get this done. The voters voted overwhelmingly to fund a fix without a plan to do it. So my Go plan is built on a lot of work from past years, and we will create a complete system that moves people from where they live to where they work, and we can have it up and running. A seamless system that serves all our community in just 5 years. So let's get going, and people can see the Go plan at tampa2020.com.
Great. And we're going to certainly touch on transportation during this interview.
Sure.
I want to chat a little bit about workforce housing.
Yes.
Our community say that it's a crisis. It's certainly a need for more attainable, affordable workforce housing. What zoning or policy changes do you see as an opportunity to implement to address this need?
Sure. First of all, for viewers to know, I'm the only person in this race that actually has built affordable housing. My in-town housing project won the top Urban Infill Award in 2007, and it was incredibly beautiful, historically accurate, energy efficient, affordable housing. So I built $12 million of it before the Depression. The housing thing ties directly into the Go plan. You build great transit, and then you build housing around great transit. You tie entitlements for higher density and parking relief to requiring developers to build into it low income and workforce housing as a mix of things. And as long as you do it together, that works. Layering on top of that, I have a aggressive programs, a 203K mortgage program that will allow people to buy and rehab older homes and own them for less money than they can buy new, because the principal cost of new homes is construction. We're over $100 per square foot. I'd like to see increased energy efficiency in rental codes. I want to push I want to get the Sadowski Act funds fully funded. I've got an approach I'm looking at to creating a local affordable housing trust fund to further underwrite and leverage construction of modest and workforce housing. So it's a very aggressive agenda that is doable, and I understand how the pieces work because I've been a builder and developer and understand the economics of it.
Great. I want to chat a little bit about the budget. One could argue that the budget process is one of the biggest responsibilities for mayors.
It is.
We're hearing from state economists, some budget leaders, that we could potentially see it like in the economy in a couple of years, which would obviously, if elected, fall under your tenure. How would you balance that? The budget process,
Sure.
Prioritization during a dip in the economy. Would it be cuts? Would it be tax increases? How would you address that?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the question. I was a county commissioner for 8 years, and we cut property tax rates every year. We've had the last 5 years, 10% increases in property tax rates. We have not had fiscal discipline at the city. We have known about this exploding bond debt since 2011. I pointed out during when I ran 8 years ago, and we haven't accounted for that. So those are the problems. One of the things I want to do is, besides a 1-year budget, I'm going to do a 4-year and 10-year forward-looking projections. So when we undertake an obligation, we're looking forward to understanding what the ramifications of that over time are. We do have a diversified budget, unlike the county, but I think one of the things we need to look at is CRA revenues to make sure And those are monies that general revenues that are restricted by community redevelopment areas to make sure all those are needed for those areas, because when you allocate them to the CRAs, you're taking that money away from the general revenue pot. The other thing is I think we need to look at some possibilities of privatization of some of the services and efficiencies. And I'm going to create an office of innovation because I'm interested in having private sector and employee initiatives to say, how can we do things better with not necessarily waste or inefficiency or waste or all the typical stuff you hear, but through innovation, through technology and new softwares and new approaches.
Efficiency. I want to chat about the permitting process. And
yes.
We've heard from some of our members that.
Yeah, well, I'm the only person in this race that's been through it around 70 times personally, but go ahead.
Yeah, with the permitting process, we're hearing this becoming more and more difficult. And while we all want to see a safe process for permitting, there does need to be some efficiency built in to benefit our business members and residents. So how would you address that?
Well, this is not a hard problem. You need a mayor that knows how and understands the process, right? And you set some benchmarks that, standard residential permit, you're in and out in 7 days. A more complicated one, 2 weeks, and a more complicated one, 30 days. And you do interactive, desktop changes. Again, I've gone through this process and I understand it. I'm so frustrated that you'll take a set of plans in. They'll say, well, make these 5 changes and then resubmit. Well, we should have a system where you make them on the spot. Done, signed and sealed, as long as you have the project owner, engineer there. There needs to be accountability to it. But also, listen, I'm absolutely happy to pay the full cost of fast review. And I don't think there's anything wrong with increasing permitting fees, so long as those increases are tied to, look, I get my permit fast and not spinning and spinning and spinning. So I plan to, within the first 90 days after we get our budgets done, take a fresh look at that. I've heard some candidates saying, we're going to bring everyone together and have a study and have a focus group. It's really, you don't have to do that. If you know what you're doing, you bring it in, you look at the system, and it's more attention to detail and having this accountability. And I'm pretty confident that with me as mayor, we're going to get this thing fixed pretty quickly, and we'll have the resources to do it.
Great. Home rule. So I want to talk a little bit about preemption. There's a growing frustration across the state from our local governments that there's a Tallahassee knows best mentality. Do you agree that that's the case? If so, and elected, how would you work as mayor to produce a stronger working relationship with our legislative delegation?
I do think that's a propensity in Tallahassee. I think Ronald Reagan kind of said local government's the best because it's closest to the people. I think that cities and counties can be great instruments for innovation and progress. And when you put it, all the opportunity for innovation and change is up in Tallahassee, where it's captured by lobbyists and special interests, you stifle creativity. And one of my messages to our legislators will be, if you want to have an innovation economy, an entrepreneurial economy, allow cities, counties, and school districts to innovate. That's one of the planks of my mayor's campaign. And I probably have as good a relationship with our state senators and state representatives as most of the people in this race. I share Senator Brandis and Senator Lee's perspective of private sector engagement and helping to solve some of the issues here. And I'm going to create an office of innovation and public-private partnerships. I would like the city of Tampa, working with the business community and the county and the school board, to be given greater latitude to find creative solutions to things like the challenges of education. I would like us to be an innovation economy and an innovation government. And I think that's part of the message to them. We're going to innovate, and don't try to stifle what we do in Tallahassee, because each city is unique. Let each city be an incubator unto itself, and that's part of being a robust 21st century economy.
Great, and perfect segue. Next question, economic development, and I want to talk about P3s, public-private partnerships. They are an asset for local governments across the country.
Yeah.
Mission education. What other opportunities do you see for P3s in the city of Tampa?
Oh, I think they're massive. I am an actual private sector participant and practitioner of P3s and have lectured at the Florida P3 conference. I like the legislation that's there, and here's what I will do with our office. So the Office of Public-Private Partnerships will allow employees to come in and say, here's my idea, and I'm going to have a person in charge of that that's a direct report to me. I don't want things to get stuck in the bureaucracy. And we can take it from the pipeline from the employee end and bring it forward. But I'm also interested in the private sector coming in and say, hey, there's a better way of doing water meters or anything. I want them to be able to come in, present their idea. We'll vet it within the confidentiality provisions under state law. If we find it sensible, then we'll procure it. Now, they may have to pay the cost of the procurement, particularly if it's an expensive thing, but we'll let their ideas drive the procurement. Government employees are so thin, it's hard for them to get off the treadmill. So I want us to have innovation come in. And then I would like this model, by the way, adopted by other local governments. And I plan then to take this idea nationwide for people to understand. Hey, go down to Tampa because this is where good ideas go to succeed. This is the public sector component of creating an innovation ecosystem. I see the same approach on the GO corridors. I would see each of these major corridors on our GO plan being a separate 3P procurement. And I would like to see the best, newest technology brought to bear. I want to let the private sector say, here's how we're going to solve our problem. Like downtown to West Shore, the Midtown line is just, we can go procure that right away. So let's see what people bring to us. I'm a big, big believer, as I'm a practitioner in this space, of providing the private sector the opportunity to bring creative solutions to solve our problems.
Great. And I want to shift to transportation. Obviously, in November, a chamber-supported transportation referendum passed, injecting $2 into the city.
Yeah.
We all have a transportation wish list. You've got a detailed plan that you have talked about.
Yes.
What I want to ask you is if there was one priority, one transportation project out of the gates that was most important to you, what would that be?
Well, we have to create, first of all, building the GO plan. We need to understand that because of where we live everywhere, we go everywhere at the same time. There is no such thing as building a line that will be successful. The whole is vastly greater than the sum of the parts. And that's the power of the GO plan, that we can proceed very quickly to get that done. Certainly sidewalks and repaving are things that we'll do right away in our high priorities, but we need transformation. But the first thing that we can do, and I'm real focused on buildable projects, is getting downtown to West Shore done on the Midtown line. I will have that, plan to have that, working with Hart, and I have strong supporters on the county commission to do a joint procurement to finally get downtown to West Shore done along from Main Street to Howard Armenia to Cypress. And this is not my concoction. This was a route that was approved for fixed guideway transit in 2001 by the federal government. So let's go. That's my message. With Ed Turanchik, we're going to go, and that'll be the first project we'll get going.
Leadership. What do you see as the role of Tampa's mayor, and how do you see that role evolving if elected over your tenure?
Well, I've always been a regional leader, always from my days as an environmental guy, putting together the program to save environmental lands with the arena downtown, the regional water wars resolution, high-speed rail, regional rail. I've always worked beyond my boundaries, and I think that's what the mayor needs to do. When people need to look at them, people say they've got a record of leadership. Well, check us out, right? I know what my record of leadership is, and we got safe drinking water, saved environmental lands. We haven't built a jail, high-speed rails coming. That's what leadership really does. We got the ferries running. So my style is to create a vision, and particularly in terms of solving a problem, and bring people together to create that vision together, create a shared vision and the work the problem. And that's how Tampa Bay Water got done. We went from water wars, spending $10 million, draining lakes and wetlands, right? In 3 years, solving that problem. We're the only place in the state of Florida that solved that. 198 people of warring factions had to vote to approve that. 196 did. And I will say that the big defining difference between me and I think most people in this world is I work very hard. I put more stock into hard work and bringing people together in a room and working it than ribbon cuttings and digging shovels. And that's how Tampa Bay Water happened. And let me just give an example. We had the last transportation plan. Our local elected officials met once a quarter for 3 hours to create a plan. In Dallas, when they did their plan, they would spend 20, 30 hours a month for 3 years to do it. If we don't have the elected officials and stakeholders at the table working the problem and getting this stuff done, it's not going to be worth much. So I'm going to be a very engaged leader, and I'm going to insist people be at the table. And if you're not at the table, I don't want to hear your voice, right? Because you dealt yourself out.
Right. We have touched on several important policy areas during this interview. Is there a policy area that we didn't touch on that is important to your campaign, something that you would like to reemphasize for the viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. It's public education, the quality of public education, and the educational opportunities for kids in the center city schools. I have said I'll be an education mayor. I did that from the first day I announced. You cannot be a great city if 40% of your neighborhoods have failing schools and the kids are failing, not due to any fault of their own, but because they don't have the support structure around them. And the mayor's job is not to educate our kids, it's to help them have a chance to succeed in getting educated. So I'm going to create a urban schools policy council. It's consistent with my leadership model. We know we have a problem. Urban schools are failing. Urban students are not reading, getting education, math at the level they should. The vision is no child left behind. Now we're going to bring everyone together to work that problem. And I've said, by analogy, there was a Tampa Bay Raise 2020 effort where the business community rallied around. I want to see a Tampa Schools 2024 initiative where we bring everyone together and say, this is a predominant focus of all of us. It's both morally and economically important to get this right. I expect to spend probably 20% of my time as mayor working on that issue because you need the mayor's voice and leadership to fix this problem. Great.
Well, thank you for that. And where can our viewers go to learn more about your campaign?
Thank you very much. You can go to, it's very easy, edmayor.com. To see the GO plan, go to tampa2020.com. It's the perfect vision for our future. And if you want to get going, go with that.
Great. Well, thanks for that. And on behalf of our 1,400 members, our board of directors, thank you for participating, and thanks for your willingness to serve in an elected capacity.
Thank you. I think it's great that you guys are doing it, and kudos to you, and have fun with it.
Absolutely.